Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. The Ed Sullivan Show was an American television variety show that ran on CBS from June 20th, 1948 to March of 1971. It was hosted by New York entertainment columnist Ed Sullivan. It was scheduled every Sunday night from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock Eastern Time, and it's one of the few entertainment shows to have run in the same weekly time slot on the same network for more than 2 decades. You see, in 1947, Sullivan emceed the Harvest Moon Ball for the New York Daily News, and unknown to him, the affair was televised, but very few people had TVs back then. CBS then hired Sullivan to host their new variety show that was called Toast of the Town. Initially, it was pretty rough going for the show, with sponsors threatening to pull their advertising dollars unless CBS ended up replacing Ed. But Ed was a fighter, and he battled hard to book the best talent that he could. Ed fought his numerous critics, and eventually his weekly show took hold and became a major rating success, prompting the network to announce Ed Sullivan as the host at the beginning of each show. In 1955, the show was renamed The Ed Sullivan Show, and in 1967, Ed received one of his greatest honors ever. The theater from where he broadcast his show was renamed the Ed Sullivan Theater. He had an uncanny ability to spot top-notch talent, as he presided over many firsts of American television. Among the individuals or groups who made their first television appearances on this show, or who were relatively unknown until they appeared there, included Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, Dick Van Dyke, Hank Williams Jr., the Rolling Stones, Jack Benny, and of course Elvis Presley and the Beatles. In reality, Ed had become the arbiter of the taste of America. He was a good and loyal friend for those he liked, but heaven help you if you were on his enemy list. Ed's famous feuds were that of legend. He ran his show with an iron will, and he was often known to edit artist routines when he saw fit. And there were quite a few celebrities who had run-ins with him about being on the show. Some of them even were banned. Bo Diddley was a rock singer and guitarist who appeared on the show in November of 1955. He initially planned to perform his namesake song, but was asked by Sullivan to instead play Tennessee Ford's 16 Tons. While he initially agreed to this change, he decided to revert back to his original plan at the last minute and perform his own track. This greatly upset Sullivan, and he told him that he was very disappointed that he had double-crossed him. This hurt his relationship with the television host, and he never appeared on the show again. Buddy Holly and the Crickets appeared on the show twice. Their most controversial performance occurred January 26, 1958, when they gave television audiences the show of a lifetime. The band was scheduled to play 2 songs, including their hit, Oh Boy. However, Sullivan felt it was too rowdy and asked for it to be substituted by another track. Holly denied the host's request, as he had told his friends that he would be performing that song. During rehearsals, the band was summoned to their dressing room, but only Holly showed up. Sullivan made a comment about the Crickets not being excited to appear on the show, to which Holly replied, "I hope the band is more excited than I am." This angered Sullivan, who set out to sabotage the band's performance. The performance was cut to just 1 song, and when introducing Holly, Sullivan purposely mispronounced his last name as Holland, Additionally, he made sure the microphone for Holly's guitar was turned off. The musician repeatedly tried to turn on the instrument's volume, but eventually he grew frustrated. In retaliation, he performed a dramatic guitar solo to show that he wasn't at fault for the technical issues. Sullivan's plans for sabotage had backfired, as the crowd loved the performance. As such, he was forced to invite the band back for another visit, but Holly refused. Now, stand-up comedian Jackie Mason is considered one of the top comedians of that time, and he appeared on the show numerous times and was greatly received until an incident happened. During his performance on October 18, 1964, it just so happened that it was cut short by a broadcast from President Lyndon B. Johnson. To warn the comedian that he had about 2 minutes left, Sullivan gave him a hand signal, to which Mason responded with his own gesture. Sullivan thought that he had flipped him off and was banned from the show, and his contract with the show was canceled. After 2 years, they allowed him back on after giving an on-air apology to Sullivan. Now, probably the biggest one that got booted from the show and was never allowed back in were the Doors. And that's what you're seeing on the thumbnail for this video. That's Jim Morrison that I have blacked out as he stands there when Ed Sullivan introduces him initially. The band had planned to perform their single, Light My Fire, which contained the lyrics, "Girl, we couldn't get much higher." This reference to illicit substances was very controversial, and the show approached the group and asked them to change that line to "Girl, we couldn't get much better." While Morrison agreed to the change, he later turned to his bandmates and said that they wouldn't be altering that line at all. They would play it just like it was written. And that's what they did once they stepped on stage, much to the dismay of the producers. Instead of Sullivan shaking their hands at the end, as was tradition, the show immediately cut to commercial. This ended the potential of any future performances on the show by the Doors. This was a real groundbreaking show. It put more people on the map to celebrity fame than any other show ever did. Ed Sullivan died on October 13th, 1974, at the age of 73. But his show is completely timeless and reverberates in both television and rock and roll history. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.